right, folks. All right, folks. How you doing? Matt Kolb is running a little bit late. He's not here yet, so I decided to start the show anyway because we could just take this opportunity to do a late afternoon update, and we'll consider this a post-market wrap as well, which we'll put in the app for later access tonight. Um, so what we're looking at, we've been talking about in the room, Clearfield. It's $84. Is right at the 50-week moving average, which has been a long-term support line. I wonder why it doesn't show in the 5-year chart here. In the 1-year chart there, it does show. Can I go further back? I don't know. Can I? No. So anyway, I took this opportunity, did some reallocations, and I've been purchasing some Clearfield. So we're looking at that. CPI tomorrow, a little bit surprised the market isn't pulling back. I think the market is expecting a light CPI. So now the question will be, if they're right about the light CPI, is it going to be significant enough of a beat, right? Significantly light enough to cause a further move here in the QQQ above the 50 DMA, or will it be sell the news? So we'll just have to see. Is it possible the market sells off as a hedge in the last hour or so? It's possible. I've seen it before big events, just like a little flash crash, like 3:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. That is possible. But at this point, it looks like the market is expecting good numbers, and then it's going to be a matter of how much of it is baked in tomorrow. And if it's a miss, look out below. All right, that's the story with QQQ and probably SPY similar chart. Air, I took some off the table because of this reversal, green to red reversal, and actually moved it into SMSI. Right at resistance at 260 here at the 200-day moving average, but there is another resistance, 275 at the 50-week moving average, anticipating a break based on all the chatter that we're seeing on the work that Brian has been doing, and we're going to be interviewing him next week with all the channel checks and product updates he's doing, trying to anticipate a break of that 50-week moving average. WWE reversed here, so I did call out like a bot right there at that point. I put a chart and I'm like, this looks ready to reverse. Unfortunately, I bought some up here as well. So my personal, I don't know what you guys did with it, but my average is like 90.50 or something like that. So hopefully this will complete this red to green move here. Vegas is still bullish on it, as we talked about this morning and throughout the day. STNG down on this report, which is really as expected, according to Matt. Maybe that's why we're not seeing a big bounce today. I'm not in that. Had a little bit of a trade in it this morning, but not in that now. Microsoft, big winner. That really worked out. I gave this idea to you guys yesterday on chat TPG, and it's just exploded this morning. I wish we didn't have CPI tomorrow, because you can see a 2050 bearish cross here. It's right near the 2235 initial resistance. And then maybe you have 237 after that. But I just don't like having CPI coming in the way of this. If you're joining us late, I see a couple other people join us. Matt Kolb's not here yet, so we're just doing our post-market wrap now. And if and when he shows up, we'll get started on the update on his stocks, which is ACTG and PTE and YTRA. Okay. CVV met our target. What an explosion. By the way, TGB, swing trade, doing really well. Copper, continuing to do well. CVV called this last night. I said 8 target today. Wow. I said 750 to 8, and it reached 820. Unbelievable. So I sold most of my shares because it met my target. I do have a little bit left over in case somehow the traders find it. It's a low floater. It goes ballistic. So I have a little bit left over. But that deal looks very significant to fundamentals, and I'd be interested in repurchasing this on pullbacks, or maybe even adding some to my IRA on pullbacks. And I would hold that into the earnings report, because that does look like a significant deal out of CVV. Okay, AirG hit our initial target of 750 yesterday. It looked like it was going to break it to go towards our second target of $8. It's getting kind of stalled here at 750. I don't know. I sold like a little bit at like 748 earlier today, but I may, just because of the position the market's in, the risk coming in the CPI tomorrow, and Clearfield, I really went heavy into Clearfield, so I may have to sell that today and take a smaller gain on ARG, and it might happen anyway, especially if CPI comes in late tomorrow. This could like rocket to $8 in like a couple minutes at the open tomorrow. That's definitely a possibility. But because of my personal situation here, I have a little bit too much margin heading into tomorrow, and I want to hold on to Clearfield, which is dropping further as we speak. So ARG may have to take my profits so I can hold on to Clearfield here. All right. All right, that's the story over there, but still that looked good. We got our first target, so we're going to call that a success on AirG already. Quick, I like seeing the follow through after the Needham conference yesterday. Potentially now 650 is in view. So 650 potential target on Quick. SkyT, we don't know it well. I've been throwing it out there. This is a little bit tied to Quick. Quick talked about them. They're the semiconductor fab that was working with Quick on this large DoD contract. Don't have any predictions for you. Just throwing that out there. I mentioned that this morning. Same with DAIO. Dermtech pulling back. I did a lot of research on this last night. And like I said, it may be at the bottom, but that would be speculation, right? They don't have enough deals to flip the profitability yet by a long shot. So we'll have to see on that. It's not only deals it's about execution as well. Sales execution. Sorry, I'm just looking off to check out some of this price action here before the close. Man, Clearfield at the lows. This is shocking. Let me see what Calix is doing. So, Clearfield is down because of the Calix warning. I don't know if I covered that. So Calix is down 16%, not at the lows of the day, but had a bigger percentage move down. So they're the ones that came out with the bad news that we think Clearfield doesn't have that bad news. But I said the market's not going to differentiate right now. They're not going to differentiate until the earnings report. So I'm not sure we're going to see a sharp bounce back unless the company comes out and defends, puts a PR out, or an analyst comes out and defends it. All possibilities. But Clearfield at the low of the day. Okay. Let's go on and see Exact Sciences. Man, I had massive conviction in this. I got to learn to get more into big caps because you know what it is? Sometimes I think the big caps, the stories are so obvious that it doesn't need to be said, right? Like everyone knows what's going on. Not only our community should know what's going on very easily and understand the thesis, but all of FinTwit should understand it. I never call out the big caps because to me, the story is really obvious. The targets are really obvious. And maybe that's why I don't take the trades. I'm like, it's a little psychology thing I got to work on. I'm like, I want to go after the stuff no one knows about. But I mean, look what I lost here. I didn't even play this at all. And I was pounding the table at 55. I'm like 62 target. And if it breaks that 70s, 80s, and it's going straight there. Right. But I'm like a big cap, not interested. I got to change my mentality on that because I'm calling these big caps incredibly well. And there's massive money to be made, much more in big caps, I believe, than in micro caps. It's also much more scalable if you're going to be investing a lot of money. So incredible call from Exact Scientists. I know that Yosef, my partner in the fund, did take advantage of that a little bit and is still in it a little bit. So that's good. All right. So that's about it. We're watching CTMX. CTMX. Okay, Matt's coming on board in just a minute. So stable here, a little drop. I mean, it could drop 50 or so support, but okay. If it does, I still like it to the upside based on. Okay. Matt thought it was 3 p.m. Central. So let's see. All right. So I don't know if he's going to come on now or we have to come back to him at 4 p.m. Let me just, we'll monitor. I'll just tell him, hold on. We are on a line now. All right. Can't make it. Okay. So that's the story with why Matt's late, but we'll get to that shortly. His coming online. Great. All right. So we'll get to his stocks in just a second. APPH, man, we called this when they had the sale lease back and it played it for like a day, but I didn't like the fundamentals, so I didn't keep it. I can't look back on that, because we got a process here, and I generally avoid swing trades, I avoid swing trades if the fundamentals are poor, basically, even if everything is great. Generally speaking, I avoid them. I didn't like the fundamentals here, so I lost 100% gainer, but that's okay. Got to stick to our process to stay disciplined, and we're not going to get them all. ROM, unbelievable. Unfortunately, I've been out of this since Elon Musk bought Twitter, and I thought the story had changed, but unbelievable move there. If you're still in it, congratulations. XXII making a little move, but not so significant. Big picture looks 3% above the 20 DMA. All right, so with that, we're going to get over to our big show. Going to redo the intro so we can cut this out later. And give me 1 second. Here we go. All right, guys. How you doing? Matt, how are you?
I'm doing better. How are you? Good to talk to you, man. It's been a little bit.
Doing good. Yeah, it has been a little bit. Today has been absolutely crazy for us. You can see at the top of the watch list, Clearfield, one of my largest holdings, down 13%, but we're going to work that out. I wanted to bring you on to talk about some of your top stocks. I know you've been talking about YTRA a lot, YTRA Online, YTRA. I wanted to get an update on ACTG from you. And are you still in PTE or familiar with that PTE story?
Yeah, I still have a small position into PTE, and I mean they have an acquisition offer, pretty firm, and now they're doing analysis to make sure it goes through. And
We'll start with that first. Let me just pull it up.
I think it's like $1.03, and the stock is obviously trading well below it. The person that made that acquisition knows that it's worth so much more than where it's trading at. I mean, I've never seen a stage 3 asset that's pretty much probably 18 months to market, and they've already been in the market with their product. And I've spoken with doctors in the past that used it a lot. It's saved people's lives. Former diabetics that use their product to close these crazy wounds. And so, if it wasn't for the market, I think this would be a $200 to $250 million market cap company. And that's just showing how bad biotech is and how damaged venture capital. I mean, obviously you guys have watched biotechs. It's been an absolute disaster. So, here's the board, right? They have to, balance like, hey, how are they going to get more capital? And if this person has the capital to get them to the finish line, so I don't know if there's going to be an option for me to roll my stock over. And so I might take that. I mean, nothing is final right now, but they have to do something, right? They're going to run out of cash in March. What I think is going to happen is they're going to update the market on some of their trial data prior to when, and if it's really, really good, the stock might trade well above, right? And then interest. So they're talking to every private company. I mean, they're talking to a lot of different companies. So a higher offer may come in, I think. But it depends on financing, and I would think some data that's going to come out in the next probably few months. Obviously, I don't know.
If a higher offer doesn't come in, you think you expect them to take this offer at $1.03?
Yeah, I definitely expect they have to. I mean, they either have to do that or raise another capital, and then that would be 100%, 200% dilution. So I don't think shareholders would, and I just don't think they can do an offering that's legal that way based off of past conversations. And obviously, their lawyers are looking into all kinds of different options. But so I do think they have to do something, and they're not going to let it go to zero and go bankrupt. They have no debt on the balance sheet, so I've never seen a company with
how much cash do they have?
Well, they had 25 million, but they're burning 6 million a quarter, and they're cutting costs. They told me they're cutting costs, so their burn is going to go down. So that was that as of September 30th. So it'll be a 6, 12. Yeah, 18. So yeah, you don't want to, they have to do a deal by March because in my opinion, because you need some cash leeway. You don't want to run out of cash. And like I said, the technology is amazing. I am so shocked. And obviously we made a lot of money on the upwards. I bought back in, I'm down a lot here. But I did sell on some of these big, huge rips, earlier, and then bought back a lot of stock that I am down a considerable amount. But and I can't blame it on the company because I've spoken with the company. They're doing everything they can. And I mean, I've spoke with many other institutional investors that have never seen this type of, stock with this much potential trading in a $7 million market cap. But then again, you're an institution, you can't get stock. You're not going to go in there without moving the stock from 70 cents to $4. You would need, some retail to lock up a lot of the shares, right? And then at that point, the stock would go well above the offer price, and then that would give the company more negotiation power, I would think. So that's where I'm at with that. Is disappointing, but you're not going to have all winners, right?
Yep.
And I've taught that. I mean, we had some monsters. I mean, like I said, I had a really, actually decent year last year, versus where it could have been, and this was my big loser, by far.
Awesome. Well, yeah, you've had some really good pick stars, especially early last year. I remember that, and I was in you with a bunch of those. The year got harder as it went along, but great update on PTE, 75 cents by 77 cents with a buyout offer on the table of $1.03. So where do you want to go next? ACTG or YTRA?
Yeah, I just spoke with management.
On which one?
ACTG, literally today.
ACTG. Oh, okay. Tell us
It
about
was right before our call. That's why I was like,
Nice little
rushing
chart
and
here.
not paying attention. So I didn't get a chance to write down the notes. So usually I'd have notes and be able to talk about it. But so there's a management change. The old CEO, who I absolutely did not like at all. There was many other institutional investors that were not a fan that I've spoken with. He stepped down and retired. And they brought in MJ McNulty, who I spoke with for the first time today. And I believe this guy has what it takes to get this company to the next level. He's a deal maker. He came from Starboard. Okay. And for the people that don't know Starboard in the institutional community, they are considered with Icon, all the other great activists as the best, literally the top 1%. They have compounded. Don't quote me on this. It's probably 25, 30. I mean, they're one of the best compounders for value-based investors. And the reason I got in the stock in the first place is when Starboard said they were going to get involved with the company. Now, Starboard has an offer, and you know this, for a rights offering. And they told me today, and obviously they're committed to buying 15 million shares at 525. Right? Where's it trading right now? 410, 412, 440, yeah, 414.
Okay, so there's 43 million. I've been involved in a rights offering like this before, and let's say the way it works, correct me if I'm wrong, but if there's 50 million shares, so if let's say 30 million shares, say they want to participate, you would just get a proportional thing. So you'd be bought out of 50% of your shares at 525. Is that
No, that's not a rights offering. You're thinking of, what's that called?
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking of a
oh my goodness, I've done those before. It's called something else where they have so they're not buying out the whole company at 525. What they've said is there's a lot more value than 525. We're willing to do a stock offering at 525 of 15 million shares, and that at least they might do more so that they can fund acquisition.
Starboard will be buying new shares at 525 from the company.
Correct. At least 15
okay.
million. At least.
Offering. Yeah. Okay, I got it all wrong then. Okay. It's something else. I forgot what the other thing is called. Okay. So they're investing
at least another 15 million at 525 because there's a lot more value. So the current book value I think is 575 with the way that the rights offering is structured, but that's discounting. They have some really valuable assets that are not priced accurately. So my guess is the book value is closer to 650.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, Dutch auction. Someone just private messaged me Dutch auction.
Yeah, Dutch auction.
So yeah, okay. So I mix those up. So basically the thesis here is at some point by February, I think that.
Yeah, they obviously, they said in the next couple of weeks, right? They can't tell, but they're saying they're going to get some additional information out in the near future. And they said they'd get it done in the first quarter. My guess is if they get, a new press release out, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is, it'll be shortly thereafter.
So basically, we could see a press release saying Starboard has invested X millions of dollars at $5.25 a share. And I guess when the market sees that, usually the stock will re-rate to at least that 525 number on the day that
Correct,
press release comes
correct,
out, right?
correct. Especially since the book, they'll have maybe say an updated book value. I mean, it's all speculation, but the first press release would not be that. They'd have
Yeah.
to then, come out with further details on how we could participate, right? So I think the first press release would be like, a week, 2 weeks.
Okay, because anyone can participate. It's not just it's not a
Yeah,
private
yeah, yeah.
placement with
So
Starboard.
he thinks like a big investor that won't be able to go in there and move the stock to $6-7 might come in there and participate at 525 because they can get a huge block. So
Got it.
so they're not sure, and then they might say we have they might know, and they know the pipeline, right? They know, like they said the pipeline of possible private and public deal is at like all-time kind of highs. So they've told me this for months. And the new management, they got rid of everybody else and they brought in a bunch of
Well,
really
there's a lot of great deals out there right now. They can get assets really cheap.
exactly. And they said they're looking at $2 billion in doing deals. So that's always been the case, right? And so they brought in a new team. It's a solid group. And I really, really like the new CEO. He seems like a much better fit, and personality wise, we just meshed on that call.
Nice.
And so he's got his own team in there. They might bring in some additional people, into the future. They can't comment on the deals. They're just that the pipeline, and they're really focused on the type of deals that they're going to want to do. If a one-time opportunity comes like that biotech portfolio, this has always been the case, they're going to take action. Right. And so, but they're one of the few people with a lot of money, and there's a lot of different ways they can structure deals. They might bring in co-investors. Like this has always been the case. Like there's many ways they could finance. They have access to credit where other people don't. I mean, Starboard, like they can go to anyone. I would think on the street, from mid-tier banks to Morgan Stanley, and instantaneously because of their strategy. Like they're not buying these hot dot SaaS companies. And the CFO, okay, so since there was so much change in the company, the CFO decided to leave, and he's consulting for 4 more months. He is a SaaS guy. He's a high growth guy. Now, they would buy a growth company if it made sense, like the Woodford portfolio, but they're going to buy cash flowing businesses. And why is that important to the story? So right now it's trading at a function of book value, right? For probably $6 book value. I mean, we're speculating what the assets are actually worth. So usually companies trade at a multiple, right? They don't trade it below assets. Like you could liquidate the portfolio and get 6. So they're what they've mentioned in the past is, hey, when we bring in companies, we're going to have a multiple. Like you're going to trade at a multiple. Like people are going to like, oh, this is not a book value story anymore. We got to value it on future cash flow earnings.
Right.
That's been my thesis for the last year. They just haven't completed a big deal. They've done one small deal. They still have this big patent business that is doing way better than expectations. They might, I would think maybe they could sell that off or spin that off, or maybe keep it for cash flow. I mean, there's options. I mean, they want to become the mini Berkshire Hathaway. That's kind of like what they've talked about, is we want to do multiple different private and public deals. And Starboard knows how to come in there. They could literally have a buyer for part of the company right off the bat to make the rest of the, basically pay nothing, I would think. So they have experience doing that. Like they have the private equity connections. So this is something that's in my IRA. It's in my taxable. It's something that I see as like, I have a lot of money into it because I'm an investor in this. This is not a trade. This is, people might make the trade and make money, and that's fine. But I think this is a $12, $14, $15 stock a few years from now. So, money, like for me, it's trading below book value. And I've seen they've compounded at 30%. And, that if I can get a 12, 13 in 3-4 years instead of having my money parked in cash, right? Obviously there's risk, right? They can mess up, but I am backing a horse.
Awesome. I love it. And I love these face-to-faces I have with you. There's so many ideas that go on text, and the ones that really stand out. Like I can really understand the story and get the conviction. So this is really helpful. Matt, really appreciate this. on both ACTG and PTE look like relatively low risk. PTE maybe
Well,
an
you
increase.
never. I mean, I wouldn't say. I mean, the deal could fall through. They might not get capital. Like,
Oh, yeah,
but there is
you're right.
no
You're
big.
right.
I mean, I would think the fact that there's zero debt, they'd be able to figure out some way from some bank. I mean, the board is very connected. Like they former started Cowan. I mean, or I don't know if they Peter started it, but yeah, they're very connected to to everybody on the street. So I think something would happen at that point. But
Right.
what happens if Russia hits or any of these?
Yeah,
Let's say
you're right. You're right.
valuations come down. I mean, with Acacia, they
Absolutely.
don't have. It's basically a cash play right now. So yeah, unless they do a stupid deal, yeah, that one is very safe because they just have a couple assets that are private that are worth way less than what they're actually worth. So
Mhm.
that's upside when eventually either an acquisition happens. I mean, I'll give you an example. There's a company, Mycovia, and they got a drug approved that's going to transform UTI care. So women, they get UTIs and they get chronic, and it's a nasty infection for women, and they have a new drug. It's not public company, Mycovia. You can
Oh, okay.
look at it, but I mean, before the market fell apart, I heard it was going to be $1 billion type valuation, and they own a huge percentage. I can't remember. I haven't looked in a bit, but I think it's like 26% royalty stream. So they don't own the company, but they own a royalty stream. And as different milestones come, they get revenue. So they've had something. I bet in the next quarter, because they got approved and now it's launched into the market, they're going to get a nice royalty check, which is obviously 100% margin. And so that will go right to the bottom line. Well, they still have some NOLs to give up. They still have some NOLs to use as well. So that's an example of something listed on the balance sheet at a fraction of what it's worth. I think it's listed at 15 million, 25. I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but if they're getting these huge royalty payments, and someone might want to buy them out, right? I mean, like no company wants to have this big, huge royalty stream they have to pay out. So the company might either in an acquisition, they'd have to, so they might have a windfall, 50, 100 million. I mean, the talk has been up to 200 million at one point to Acacia. Now, I don't know, obviously the markets have changed a lot. So, if it's if it's a 50 million or even 100, I mean, 100 million, right? Well, what's going to happen to the stock? If that happens. So that's an option and something really good happening with a company that's and I'll get an update at some point how well they're doing with this new drug that Mycovia offers.
Awesome. I love that background, the context, and how you talked about that risk. That's great. Let's go to the last one here. YTRA Online, YTRA. I've seen you talking about this a lot. I don't know the amount you talk about this. Can I gather that this is your favorite of the three, maybe?
No, this is a catalyst play.
Catalyst play. Okay.
Yeah. So there is a Seeking Alpha article that just came out that if you haven't seen it, they're going to do a much better job of me talking about. Like, I know some other things that they didn't kind of talk about, more macro type stuff, but India is the new China. I mean, their stock market, and I haven't looked in 3 weeks because I'm here in Mexico. I'm just doing my own thing, and we'll talk about that offline. But anybody wants to come to Puerto Vallarta, I'm here for at least the next month or two. I'll be more than happy to show you around. I have connections everywhere. I've been living here since October, I think like October 10th, and I'm going to be here through probably at least mid-March. And so if you guys are looking to get out of the cold or you want to come have some fun in Mexico, feel free to find me on Twitter or message Ben for my number. I am a gracious host. My good friend, in between jobs, I like, dude, come out. He's like, I'm coming for a month. He's staying with me. He came yesterday. Is already having an amazing time. So the offer's open to all the story trading. That is a benefit of being a member of story trading.
Awesome. And sounds great. By the way, how do people follow you on Twitter? What's your Twitter handle?
Oh, I just changed it to my name because people are like, hey, why don't you put your name? I think it's Matt _Kolb_. Can you look that up? I just changed that like last week
Yeah.
from
Let's
MSU
see if we
MAK.
can get that for everyone here so they can follow you
Just
at
post it in the chat.
Matt _Kolb.
And I'll be,
Matt,
and obviously I
Matt
haven't,
_Kolb_. That's right. Okay. So we'll get that up here on the screen so people can follow you. All right. There we go. There you go. Matt Kolb on Twitter. That's how you can follow him. All right. Awesome. So you're
gotcha. So for the reason I've been involved, and I've been involved with this, I mean, I first loaded up, I think it was 70 or 80 cents, 60, and I've been averaging up like crazy. And the reason being is India is literally the new China. Their stock market is close to all-time highs. Their valuations are still 10 times multiples. There's very few publicly traded companies in India. Okay. A lot of companies will go public in India and then go public in the United States, and you're going to have a pretty similar valuation. This is the first time that a company has been listed in the United States that is now going to list in India, where valuations are absolutely crazy. There's a competitor, and I haven't looked, but at one point, and I still think it's trading there because it's got $1 billion valuation, is still trading at around 8 to 10 times sales. Here's the thing. Remember, I thought the call was in an hour. I was going to do this work prior to the call. And so I haven't been able to actually do the research that I was planning on doing for the next 40 minutes.
Okay. No, this has been very informative. You know your stuff very well. It's been very helpful already. So in terms of the timelines, so they're going to do an IPO in India?
Yeah, an India listing. So I just call it IPO because people...
Yeah, India listing. Have they had a PR stating their intent to do that?
Oh yeah, for the last 8 months. Like, it's so hard. Like,
okay.
let me go back there. India will not let companies go public. I mean, unless it's like a really like interesting, reputable type of company. It's a very diligent process. It was supposed to be done, I was guessing July, and look where we're at. Now it's February. So it was originally supposed to be June, then roadshow, then July, and now we're in February. So that's how much due diligence was done on this company prior to coming out.
Okay, so what's have they given any timelines officially?
Yeah. I mean, they can't say an official timeline, but the announcement was in December that they got approval, and then the roadshow I think started the second week of December. And based off of timelines, I'm thinking mid-February. But obviously, that based off the Indian government, that can get pushed out. And the article, and like I said, everyone should read the Seeking Alpha article. There was new names. So India, if you want to get involved, you travel is a huge thing, right? Anything travel, like these super apps are all being built, like Google. So like all these companies like Tata, I can't remember, they named a bunch of them, are all building these super apps, and they either have a travel piece of it, and so if you don't have a travel,
like WeChat, right? Is that another one?
Yeah. They're similar, but they weren't named because it's Chinese, right? So there's a lot of other companies, India-based, that are looking to build out, their portfolio. And so either an IPO happens or the company gets acquired prior, right? So that's what I'm saying is like, okay, there could be an acquisition announced at any day, right? And the reason why this stock doesn't move, and it's because it's very illiquid. So you do have to be careful. There's about 5 people, 6, 7, I don't know, funds that own, I think it's like around 50% of the float. And 2 of those members, Mac Capital and McGuire, own 30 something, 33, like 2 funds. And so they're not going to be able to sell their stock into this, right? I think the only way they get out, this is my personal opinion, is through an acquisition. They both have a member on the board. And one of the members on the board, I believe, is making a big impact based off of 2 recent press releases. So they are licensing their technology to other parts of the world. One was Africa, and I don't know the financial implications. We'll find that out when they can talk about it on the next call. or in the roadshow, maybe they can talk about it a little bit. And as a U.S. investor, I won't be able to participate. But who knows if maybe I'll talk to someone in India or what.
Matt, let me ask you this. Based on the valuation of the peers, you mentioned that in India, stocks are still trading at like 10 times revenue growth stocks, right?
Yeah,
So
up to
what
like there's 5
up
times
to
7. Yeah.
right. So what do you anticipate the dollar equivalent, the YTRA that's listing here in the U.S.
Well,
to trade at?
I don't think they're getting it 10 times, but if you use Ease My Trip 8 to 10 times, someone's going to pay 5 times, in my opinion. I think institutional investors will comp, especially with the M&A opportunities.
Right.
And then if it's trading right now, I haven't run the EVs, but at 260, I think it's trading at 2 times. I think ARBs will come in, right? Either ARBs are going to come in, or they're going to take some of that $100 million that they raise, 50 million, 100 million, and then buy back a bunch of stock.
So you think, as far as the IPO that goes in India, though, you're thinking that maybe it could re-rate to about 2.5 times as a possibility, like
No.
like
I
soon
think
after
it's
it lists?
trading 2 to 2.5 times right now. I think it could go 4 or 5 times.
No, that's what I meant. Like another 2 times
Oh,
to get
got
up
it,
to
got
the
it.
5. Like there's a potential here for YTRA to go to like $5 to $7 shortly
Yeah,
after the
I'm
India
thinking
listing.
4 to 5. I mean, I just don't want to,
Right.
put a huge, what I've learned in the last year, especially, and I've always been this way, is like be very cautious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like my target is, in an acquisition would be a $5, like $4 or $5. And I think it's gonna, start as time goes on and the IPO gets closer. It's going to re-rate, and if I don't think someone's going to be able to acquire it if they do the India listing, because they're going to have capital. It's going to trade much higher, and so if they're going to want it, they're going to have to buy.
Wait. What do you mean if they do the India listing? You're saying they may not do the listing and they may just sell out before that?
Correct.
Oh.
Just based on, if you read the Seeking Alpha article, that was talked about. There's many different companies, new names that I didn't even know about that were talked about in that article. So because YTRA, like Ease My Trip and Make My Trip are the big consumer oriented travel plays. So I didn't talk about this. YTRA is the #1 corporate, right? It's an institutional, consumers aren't using and they're trying to get scale there. And with this capital, I think they're going to be able to, but all the corporates, and they're picking up new corporate customers a lot every quarter. And you can go back to all the conference calls. They're adding 7, 10, 12, like big corporations. And so that's why they're able to license this technology to other regions, Africa. And I can't believe I forgot the other one that they just signed. But, I'm only one person. And there's a lot of stocks. So I think, right, if that's why I think YTRA is a major acquisition, and those two major investors, like how are they going to sell 35% of the company into something trading 100,000 shares a day? Like I said, it might be a year or two, like, hey, they might do the India listing, and then they might have the capital to really go in, and then the stock's at 5, 6, and then someone's gonna have to pay up. Right. So it all depends on whether the offer is right prior. If it's not, and like I said, I don't know if they're in any M&A talks, but the article shows, and it kind of walks step by step. So like I said, definitely look at the article. There's a lot more that I'm not remembering from it that was in there that was new even to me.
Awesome. So awesome background. Matt, I think we're going to have to leave it there because tomorrow's CPI. And we got 20 minutes left in the trading day. I got to do some like reallocations of and raise some cash ahead of possible event tomorrow with CPI data. So I do have to run, but I definitely can't wait to have you back, and we'll talk offline as well.
And for my last thing, as we're talking about that, is I think the economy is slowing personally. I think the Fed's gonna, no matter what the numbers are, they're gonna have to, slow down. The people that I'm talking to, it's tough out there. I mean, I remember 2008. I remember certain areas, 14. I mean, it's the Fed is definitely walking a thin line right now, and so I think the market. I think institutions are starting to realize, like, hey, they're going to have to slow down, even if they're going to talk tough.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Well, hopefully that'll happen. Thank you, Matt, so much. That was so informative, man. I really enjoyed having you. We'll have to do this more
I
often.
know. Well, here's the thing: is now that I'm starting to get better, I'm going to start doing some research again. So I'm going to start that probably in the next couple of weeks and start looking for more ideas. Right. So now it's just
Cool.
been okay. I only have enough hours in the day to focus on my names, and now I'm going to start looking now, especially with a lot of value ideas. And like I'm a catalyst guy normally. I mean, ACTG, YTRA, they all have some type of catalyst actually.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my MO,
I
and I
love
have some.
Catalyst. I love that too.
Yeah, I mean, there's another, like, bring me on in the future. I have a couple more names that I'm involved with and researching. I'll even bring them up at that point.
Awesome. Sounds good, Matt.
All right, buddy.
Take care.
Peace.